All right, there are a few different new Nintendo Switch 2 news stories I want to cover with you all today, starting with a reason to believe that a handful of different games may be getting Switch 2 edition upgrades. This will be from a third-party perspective, and it definitely opens up the conversation to whether or not we will see more third parties go this route eventually, updating their catalog of games that were only available with Switch 1 versions. Maybe we will see a number of different developers and publishers opt to do Switch 2 edition upgrades at some point in time. And this one, while not confirmed to be happening, once you go over the information, you will see the thought process behind it. It seems like we're getting probably 5 different games from a third-party perspective, all updated to run and take advantage of the Switch 2's extra horsepower. Then, despite pricing controversy around it, Mario Galaxy 1 and 2 is looking very solid right now in terms of its sales performance, because we have a few different charts to look at that suggest, yeah, people are ready to play these games again or play them potentially for the first time if you didn't own a Wii or it's just been so long now, 15 years plus. Seems like even at that $70 price point or individual $39.99 price point, people are still ready to go out and pick up this game. Then we have some interesting comments about Resident Evil Requiem and how it wasn't planned for Switch 2 initially, but due to the RE engine and the optimization and really the power of the Switch 2 overall, once they got the hands-on dev kit, it actually steered their decision to bring Requiem to the console, and it's getting there right at launch day, so we'll highlight that. And then finally, EA is actually being acquired in full by an investment fund led by Saudi Arabia, of course, and there's already some interesting headlines coming out of this in terms of where they hope to cut cost, and AI being a big key point to drive down costs in the company. So I'm sure this will go over very calmly online, but we'll break down all of this information. Before we do, make sure you like, subscribe, and turn on your bell notification to join Sunbro Nation if you're new here. And I want to first kick this off right over at My Nintendo News, where you can see the following headline, which outlines the various LEGO games on Switch could be getting Nintendo Switch 2 upgrades. And you have here the Zurich PopCom and Game Show convention has been underway, and TT Games were there with a LEGO booth which featured a variety of classic LEGO games under the Nintendo Switch 2 banner. This has sparked hope that we could be getting Nintendo Switch 2 editions of games such as LEGO City Undercover, LEGO Star Wars The Skywalker Saga, LEGO Jurassic Park, LEGO Harry Potter Collection, and LEGO DC Supervillains. Whether these updates will be paid or free remains to be seen. Warner Brothers does have a habit of charging for updated versions of their games, as was the case with LEGO Harry Potter Collection on the PlayStation 5, and you can see the exact kind of setup and display in question here. You do definitely have an image, Nintendo Switch 2 booth set up in full display, and a number of different LEGO games that right now are legit not Switch 2 games. You can only have the Switch 1 versions of those playable, and this would be nice to see an across the board type of update like this, where we're going to get better graphical performance and features out of these existing games. Hopefully it would be something that would be a free upgrade, but as noted, this would be something that Warner Brothers has historically charged for with PS4 to PS5 upgrades and stuff like that. So I wouldn't be surprised if maybe there's just a collection pack to actually get all the LEGO upgrades for 10 or 20 bucks. If they try to do 10 or 20 bucks per LEGO game, I feel like that would really be a reach and an aggressive price point for it. I don't know how many people would go out of their way to do that update, but if it was like 10 bucks and across the board you get all of them, or better yet, they're just trying to resell these games and sell more copies of them, so they just have Switch 2 editions ready to go and you can just update it for free if you own it in your library. That would obviously be the more ideal route to take, and hopefully that's what we see them ultimately take. And this isn't confirmation that all these games are getting updated, but just due to the nature of the display and kind of how they're being marketed, it does seem like there's something in the pipeline. I did enjoy my time with LEGO Star Wars The Skywalker Saga, that has obviously all the big moments from the movies playable with the LEGO humor involved. And if you enjoy LEGO games, this would be nice to see. Get the 60 FPS on Switch 2, get your 4K resolution, have them actually updated to take advantage of the better hardware. I am definitely a fan of this, and I would like to see more third parties hop on this train and actually try to sell their games, sell some evergreen games that did well, or maybe they didn't do well enough on the original Switch. Update them to really take advantage of that better horsepower and start marketing them again, start putting a sale behind them. And I do think that you'd have a lot of people who would take a second look at these games if they run noticeably better on newer Nintendo hardware. So we'll have to wait and see if there's going to be some kind of official announcement around this in the near future. But for now, maybe some reason to believe that LEGO will be seeing a round of upgrades for their games for Switch 2. Okay, moving on from there, despite some pricing controversy, you may realize that Thursday this week, we are set to see the launch of Super Mario Galaxy 1 and 2 HD for Nintendo Switch, and these games will have a free upgrade day one for Switch 2, which will allow them to take advantage of the 4K visuals and presumably mouse support, although I've seen some conflicting data on that. It seems like that probably will be there for Switch 2 for you being able to collect all of the different star bits on screen. It makes a lot of sense for the mouse support to work like that, so I think it will. Anyway, you probably have seen a lot of talk and controversy online around the price point of these games, because if you compare them to, of course, the Mario 3D All-Stars collection we had as part of the 35th anniversary, those were 3 games sold for $60. Mario Galaxy was in that bundle as well, so you may be less interested in that game. Nintendo has opted to sell these individually at $39.99, so you can just pick up Galaxy 2 by itself for that price point. But if you want the physical edition, they are bundled together at a $70 price point, which is also the top end of what Nintendo has ever charged for a Switch 1 game. And in fact, only Tears of the Kingdom saw that price point in the entire Switch 1 generation up to this point in time. So rightfully so, I'm not a huge fan of that price point. I feel like these are top tier masterpieces of games. So if you don't own them, I do think you should actually play them at some point. But obviously, that is a high asking price. For me personally, Galaxy 2 alone, I've been waiting for that game for a long time to hit, and being able to play it on 4K and also take it on the go with me when I'm not in docked mode, like that is worth it to me. That is literally a cream of the crop, top tier 3D platformer that should be on everyone's played list at some point in time, in my opinion. I am excited to go through it, but nonetheless, you can see, despite the pricing and Nintendo, what they're asking for it, over from Stealth on Twitter, Super Mario Galaxy 1 Plus 2 is number 2 on the Switch eShop. Super Mario Galaxy 2 alone is number 3. There are a lot of Switch owners who will be playing Super Mario Galaxy 2 for the first time, and that's what I think is going on here, absolutely. In addition to this data, we also have the Amazon bestsellers list, since they started selling Nintendo games again, and you can see the first games that are actually featured here, Ghost of Yotei and Silent Hill F taking the number 9 and 10 spot. But then we have, behind the eShop card, the next best-selling game is that physical edition bundle pack of Mario Galaxy 1 and 2, sitting amongst the top of Ghost of Yotei and Silent Hill F, which are both selling ridiculous numbers right now. So yeah, there's lots of interest in Galaxy 1 and 2 coming to Nintendo Switch 2, and Galaxy 1 is really the afterthought for me. I mean, if you own that as part of the 3D All-Stars collection, it's definitely not providing the value, if you will, as being part of that bundle pack. But having Galaxy 2 here is the big thing, and what the game I'm going to jump straight into. I'm not going to mess with going back through Galaxy 1. I did that whenever it came out on 3D All-Stars 5 years ago. I'm ready to hop right into Galaxy 2, and I think that this is one that if you haven't played, again, you know, at a $40 price point, that it's not the best ideal price point. It is still such a great 3D platformer. It's really one that I think, if you like those style of games at all, or like any Mario games over the years, you need to check this one out at some point. It's going to be a kind of a cool thing to see it in 4K and, you know, have it on the Switch too. I'm personally pretty excited for it, and I will be checking it out here on the channel with you all. So moving on from there, we have Resident Evil Requiem on Switch 2. Wasn't planned, but Village ran so well that they went ahead. So you have here, the Switch 2 hadn't been announced when we started planning this game, Requiem. So of course it wasn't in the original plan. When the Switch 2 was announced, we were able to start testing, developing games for it, and we thought it'd be great if we could bring the Resident Evil series to the platform. We started off internally porting Resident Evil Village to see if it would work well on the hardware, and it looked really great. So that gave us the confidence to add a Switch 2 version of Requiem to the plans. And that led us to the recent announcement where we were confirmed not only Requiem was coming, but 7 and 8 would also be coming to Nintendo Switch 2 at the same time. And if you've seen, I've highlighted it on the channel already, but shout outs to all the people capturing footage of this game running in handheld mode. If you've seen it, you know firsthand just how good quality of a top tier AAA third-party port this looks to be so far. We haven't seen how all of the game runs, obviously, but if it's any indication on what the footage we've seen so far, what it's going to look and run like, just in handheld play, not even talking about docked, which presumably would look better and more crisp than this. This is one of the exciting moments of the Switch 2 generation for me, because while we have seen some of these rocky ports and different performance issues and game delays, even like Borderlands 4 recently being announced for delay for the Switch 2 version, like, it really does come down to these third-party devs actually learning the hardware, having a good engine. That the RE engine just seems to really be maybe working some of the magic here, in addition to them just being able to utilize the hardware correctly of the dev kit of the Switch 2. When the work goes into some of these ports, we are going to see kind of some games that make you look twice to realize, hey, that's in a portable hybrid form factor console right now that you can play on the go or at home, and you're running a modern day game with all of the visual and lighting effects that you see through the Resident Evil Requiem gameplay. And it's pretty cool to think we're probably going to end up with all of the series playable sooner or later. There's some leaks about that, and I think now just getting the announcement of 3 of these games all dropping on the same date early next year, it's kind of a no-brainer that we'll get, 4 remake and all of the different ones missing from the lineup right now. And it's just always good to see comments about developers feeling good about Switch 2 hardware and not saying like this is going to be impossible to port it to Nintendo's console and we have to make all these sacrifices and stuff like that. I'm hoping that as dev kits are in the hands of developers longer and longer, that 60 FPS 4K, that becomes more of a standard thing across the board, and we're not always sitting there in the 30 FPS camp on certain games that could be pushed to that. There's a lot of talk about whether or not Requiem's running at 60 FPS. It seems like it is from frame counters and stuff like that, but that can be kind of hard to tell from handheld footage, obviously. If it's not a locked 60, it seems to at least be a variable refresh rate that goes up to as high as 60. So good things so far for Requiem, and hopefully it'll be in a really good state overall when it launches on the hardware early next year. Okay, finally, to close us out today, look at this headline. EA plans to be acquired for $55 billion by investors led by Public Investment Fund of Saudi Arabia. EA has decided to go private in a deal with $55 billion and is set to be acquired by a consortium of investors led by Public Investment Fund of Saudi Arabia and Jared Kushner's Affinity Partners. The buyout of EA is expected to close in the first quarter of 2027 financial year. The team will continue to be led by Andrew Wilson. Under the terms of the agreement, the consortium will acquire 100% of EA, with PIF rolling over its existing 9.9% stake in the company. EA stockholders will receive $210 per share in cash. The per share purchase price represents a 25% premium to EA's unaffected share price of $168 at market close on September 25th, 2025, the last fully unaffected trading day, and a premium to EA's unaffected all-time high of $179 at market close on August 4th, 2025. And then, to go inside with this headline that you see here, you have from Insider Gaming, new EA owners hoping AI will cut costs and boost profits, it's claimed. And basically the long and short of it is to manage a large debt load on the company that has historically limited net debt. One way that they are talking about already, the enhanced use of AI will be used as a way to also boost EA's profits in the coming years. And yeah, this is kind of one of those scary stories that you see in the gaming industry, companies taken private and then potentially a direction they can be led in the aim of profit would be, let's use AI to eliminate a lot of different game developer jobs, the core level coding, basic tedious work, things like that. Obviously, we don't want to see AI replace jobs in the gaming industry, and it's not a great direction to be headed, but it does seem like a direction a lot of companies are going to take nonetheless. And while there's not a ton of EA games that I myself personally really get into and watch for release or anything like that, especially like modern EA games, this is still a massive deal in the gaming industry, and it will be interesting to see if anything really comes from it in terms of a different direction for the company overall, or any difference in the decision-making process for games and stuff like that. Like, we'll have to kind of just wait and see, but this is not set to really go into full effect until early into 2027. So still got some time on that one, but it is officially happening at this point. So let me know your take on all the different stories we talked about today in the comments down below. What do you think about the various different Lego Switch 1 games potentially set to see Switch 2 upgrades, and which other third-party games that have not been announced for any kind of upgrade to the Switch 2 version would you like to see happen? What do you think about Mario Galaxy 1 and 2 HD sitting at the top of the sales charts right now? Are you personally picking up one or both of these games at or around release? Are you interested in Resident Evil Requiem following all the footage we've seen of it? And what do you think about this big new EA acquisition announcement, and even your thoughts on AI in the gaming industry as a whole going forward? So make sure you share all your thoughts and feelings in the comments down below before you leave, regardless if we agree or disagree. Also, make sure you like, subscribe, turn your notification bell. And with that, I've been Sunbro, you've been Nation. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.